Hey friends, I'm Austin. I am the voice designer for Project Senna, and today I would like to show you some of her processing chain. I'll be going pretty quickly through most of the effects and not explaining them necessarily in depth. I more want you to hear the choices that I made rather than to understand the technical execution as to why they were made or how they were made. If you have questions on that, I'd be more than happy to discuss it, but it's a little bit complex for a general video, so let's get started. So the first thing is, what does Senna sound like without processing?
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
So this is just base Senna. It's a little bit more compressed than usual because it hits the robot processing a lot better when it has a narrower dynamic range, which means the loudest parts and the quietest parts are very close together. So the first bit of processing is happening on this main track here. What does that sound like?
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different? I know.
Next, adding a vocal doubler.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
I really like how this vocal doubler both gives some movement to the voice and throws it around in the stereo field, makes it sound like it's coming from everywhere at once. This plugin here is just a simple delay with a high feedback and a very low delay time, and it gives, I would say, probably the most iconic sound of the voice comes from this.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
And then just some EQ to clean it up.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
So that's where most of the sound comes from. There is a second track down here, this track, and it has a lot of similar processing, but just mostly done with different plugins and slightly different values. The reason there's two instead of just, the reason that I did two tracks of full processing instead of one is I think it makes the voice sound thicker and helps the effect to be heard more, especially once you're in game and if you have music on or you're hearing a bunch of sound effects or you're talking to friends on a voice call. So let's hear what this one sounds like. Here is just the bass unprocessed again.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
Pitch shift and distortion.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
A doubler for a masky sound.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
Crystallizer, adding some more pitch variant and some more depth to the stereo field.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
I also like how Crystallizer's pitch shift sounds really crunchy. ROM for the delay effect. Now, normally this is a reverb, but I really like how it has the feedback and the pre-delay settings to give it a delay into a reverb in one plugin.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
And then just some compression and EQ at the end to pull it all together. So let's hear the main voice let's hear the main voice and the doubled voice together.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
So that's like 80-90% of the way there. I also like to add in a low volume version of the dry voice, and this just helps make sure that any intelligibility that started to get lost in all of the messy processing gets brought back. And then I also add in the subtrack that sounds like this.
Every day I fought for my life.
It just adds some extra bassy punch so that when it's in game, the voice doesn't start to sound too thin. There's a lot of sound effects that have punchy bass transients, like stuns and pretty much everything in the game. And so adding in a little extra beef to my voice will help it to still sound beefy once it's in the game. So let's go ahead and hear where the voice is right now.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
So that's almost done. The only thing that I didn't like about this is it sounds a little bit narrow, a little bit mono. And so I added in a phaser, a chorus, and a stereo delay to give the stereo field some more movement.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
And lastly, there's a super quiet reverb. It may not even read very well here right now.
Every day I fought for my life. Why should today be any different?
Just makes the tails last a little bit longer. One last point I'll go ahead and bring up is when I do my reverbs, I really like to sidechain them to the main voice. So how this routing is working is there's 4 tracks here, and that's the core of the voice that we already talked about, and they all crash down into this one track here. Now this track gives some like compression and EQ to smash all these tracks together, and then generally that's it. In this case, I did add that chorus and phaser to it, but that's pretty uncommon for me. So then from here, this main track, this main bus track will go ahead and feed into ascend into this reverb. But then this reverb goes into a reverb parent bus here, and there's side chaining on this track. So what's awesome is whenever this voice is loud, so whenever Senna is just talking, you could hear her voice, and it automatically turns down any tracks under this reverb bus. So the reason that there's a bus there is because a lot of times I'll have 2 or 3 reverbs that all go into this main bus. So if you don't understand any of that, basically all that it means is when the voice here is talking, the reverbs get quiet. And when this voice is done talking, so either in between, if we look at the waveforms here, in between longer parts of her line or at the end of her lines, then the reverb comes up in volume to fill in those spaces. It's really sick because you can push your reverbs way hotter than you normally can, but you're also, you're not drowning your voice and losing perspective. You're not pushing it far into the background. And B, you don't lose your intelligibility. So hopefully you found that interesting. Thank you for watching. Hit me up if you've got any questions and would like to know more.